Today, I'm honored to introduce a very special guest to the Holoship for this episode of the Future Humans 3.0 vodcast show. Denise, Chapman, Weston, welcome.
Hi, how are you? Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. So quick background on Denise. Since she was 7 years old, Denise has been developing innovative entertainment attractions, gaming experiences, storyworlds, toys, and these waterplay concepts for families all around the world. And she is a playologist, which is the coolest job title in the world, in my humble opinion. And a playologist is an expert in the science of play and engagement. And so Denise is also a trained psychologist with more than 20 years of clinical practice and research in play theory, and her attraction designs come to life with this rare kind of authenticity, and her unique design capabilities are fed by a deep understanding of human behavior and how it truly interplays with technology in live social entertainment experiences. And Denise has written 3 books on playful parenting, which includes one for parents of children that are deaf or hard of hearing. And her achievements include hundreds of award-winning waterplay and theme attractions for world-renowned brands such as Six Flags, Universal Studios, Disney, and SeaWorld, as well as children's museum amusement parks all around the world. And Denise is an inventor at heart. She has more than 120 patents. She is the co-inventor of the MagiQuest, which is one of the first technology-driven attractions, which remains successful for more than 15 years after its debut. And her smart room experience, Magic Campfire, combines this vivid physical and digital effects to create this remarkable 360 degrees campfire experience. And Denise is also an Edmund Hilary Fellow, creating social and global impact right from New Zealand. And she is currently starting this new venture and partnership with PlayPower to reinvent play by bringing the Metaverse into physical play spaces. And this venture will craft endlessly imaginative and ever-changing interactive environments, providing unique attractions for the entertainment, cinema, museums, gaming, immersive, and interactive industries. Wow, what a bio. Welcome, Denise.
Wow, that was definitely the best interview startup that I've ever had. You just blew through it. I don't blow through it like that, but you nailed it. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
You're so inspiring. I had to read it out. It was very intimidating because you have achieved so much and spanning across all the multi-mediums, and you're an inventor and a playologist. So first of all, I'd love to know, like, how did you get into all of this, I guess, is the best way to start.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. And the connection that you and I made was actually on the platform of LinkedIn. And I saw some of the interviews you were doing, and I was like, girl, what are you up to? And what are you doing? And you reached right back out to me. And what I thought was really, truly awesome is connecting through different, I'm nearly 60. So those accomplishments come with many years of working hard to bring play to life. And in your sort of like metaverse, in the worlds that you're creating, you're so accomplished for the sort of the medium mixing that you've done. And it's just amazing to see. And I can see part of what you do is that you make connections to different people from different, multimedias and experience models. And your interviews cross over to so many different spectrums. And this is the right way to do it. I mean, the way that you are coming into different industries, but including those that have been on the fringes or do different levels of it or kinds of it, is truly like the inventor spirit. I really connect with it. And I think how you're plowing ahead with making headway in the metaverse or the use of avatars, as I'm dressed with my physical avatar, which is part of the backstory of what's important to me. So first, I just want to acknowledge how amazing you are and what you have done. And second, this is how we all learn from each other and share wisdom with each other. Those that have been doing it in different generations or for different purposes, and for meeting of our knowledge, your knowledge, and figuring out how to make this inclusive. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you for the kind words. I'm inspired by you, so thank you for connecting with me. And this is what this show is all about, future humans. We're all human. I mean, I'm in the avatar, but, it's like we are avatars too. Like we are these, I don't know, I feel like we're these divine beings having an experience here on Earth, and it's all about the human spirit and connecting with each other and sharing knowledge and experiences, and combining that together will make, I think, the world a better place. So thank you so much.
Yeah, we connected on that very well. And that's one of the things that I think you're preserving in the human connection, even as being future humans. Part of it is bringing all the humanists with us. And I sort of, on the virtual side, I stick to what I said in my promise to you is that I would show up as my avatar. And this is it. It's my physical self. Yes. And it's the idea of trying to figure out how to tie these together in real life and have the opportunities to feel like we have that connection and can use that technology. So my background in being a playologist was to sort of focus on the use of play as a communication tool. And when you use play and you're trying to help people through, let's say, different events in their life or emotional intelligence, or trying to connect with each other, or have relationships and families, or work through their challenges, or go back into their past and sort of like be better future humans themselves as children growing into adults, I realized that there were some very key features of connection that if we did them proactively, would we be able to use this kind of play therapy or this play intervention by integrating it into experiences so that families can connect in positive ways, that I could use what I know in terms of how human beings relate and socialize and are, emotionally advanced as future humans, and inserting it into experiences that are unexpected, like in a theme park or in museums and whatnot, and finding ways to use the environment to connect people. So here's the sort of like the theory of connecting in the metaverse or connecting in a physical space. What I like about, the way that our bodies and minds think and how our hearts connect and how our eyes dance around each other, what it looks like when we're excited or afraid or sad, and those emotional connections take, humanness and future humanness that is not artificial, it's authentic. And I look at AI and I try to think of it as authentic intelligence. And how can we embrace the naturalness of being human beings into digital environments? And do we always have to look at our digital connection or our digital selves as a total representation of ourselves? Can we still be us in our physical bodies, but have some sort of digital avatar that embodies or is a bit of a muse to us, or somebody who engages in the digital world and sort of searches for us and makes us better future humans, both in that digital platform and in the physical platform? And so what I learned from my clients all those years of sort of dealing with, whether it was crisis or community or connection or and even creativity, was how play just sort of leveled the field. And to have those skills, or, we use the word play or entertainment or toys or engagement, but the interactivity of play in its natural state between child and adult, child to child, adult, and we call it recreation or entertainment, is key to what connects us as human beings. And it makes it easier too. So, gaming and teaching, the way that we use gaming, or even playing a game like a board game, and how it has its natural intersections to connect us, is really the secret sauce behind what future humans are about. And if you can sort of embrace that and bring that into it, even some of the low-hanging fruit in creating metaverses and gaming worlds is to really look at the heart of play and what truly brings people together. So that was like, my clients and the families that I worked with all those years were my wisdom keepers and showed me how play can advance human beings and help them connect or reconnect or solve problems or advance in their emotional and authentic intelligence, I guess.
Oh, wow.
And that's what the basis of where I started as a playologist or somebody who looks at connection through the art of play.
Wow, what an incredible answer. I agree, and I've never heard of that phrase, authentic intelligence, and I really like that because, as you know, we're in this amazing and crazy time in human history, with technology exponentially increasing and AI and us as humans and what's our role in all of this and in the metaverse. And I love that authentic intelligence and then that sense of play. And I think the thing is, like, adults are very much players in the sense of virtual gaming, video games, and all that. But that's like still siloed in the virtual world, the video game world. And then they put down the video game and they carry on with their life, right? And it's what I love about what you do is you really also focus on the physical world and how to bring it together. And, with everything that you've been doing, we'll get into that later about that sense of play. I think you said sometimes you feel like a 7-year-old in a lady suit.
We all are. Okay, so let's just look at that dynamic and being authentic.
Yeah.
There's parts and human development. There's an element of time when we have magical thinking. And then when we switch to, our logic minds, and we sort of let go of some of that magical thinking, but that's where imagination and creativity and believing in the impossible and being, kind of leave disbelief and sort of get into these gaming worlds or get into these alternate worlds. And I think that it does come down to our humanness and not letting go of that. And so I say, like, between 5 and 7, you have to make a decision, and you can go back to your 5 and 7-year-old self and give yourself permission not to let go of magical thinking. Like, I think it's like one of the most incredible gifts. And I don't know when humans decided that wasn't something you grew up with as an adult and you had to change. I think it messed things up.
Yeah.
Because to think magically and to have that question of what and where and how that happened and think that it's a bit of magic, I think is like the technology behind the curtain. I think it is what gives us that authentic sense of reveal, and things are magical. I was looking at a crowd of people, and I'm just thinking 20 years ago, I'm just walking into a crowd of people, and maybe 30 years ago, I got advanced a little bit more. And you're looking at people like this, talking or doing this. Back in original psychological theory, people doing that would need treatment. And now it's just a normal part of life.
Right.
Who would think that technology would be held in our hands like that? It is magical if you think about it. It's outrageous that's what's happening. And what I'd like to do is use technology in a way that brings that magic in our hands and in our souls and spirit, but have a separation between all of us as a physical self and that technology creating these amazing worlds for us to interact in, but still be present and physical with other people and have those exchanges and see each other's faces and create and like be in awe and wonder and interact with that wonder with each other.
Yes.
I think that is like, if we were to truly look at what the bleeding line of the metaverse is to be able to do that. That's like my goal since I started creating and inventing.
Oh, wow.
Cross that line, but keep the line that you just don't bust through that wall. That wall, is still the screen. It's still a dimension, and jumping into it would allow us to sort of lose that magic of our physical selves. But why can't it still stay there? And why can't we have that magic between us and social interaction and whatnot.
Wow.
That's
yeah.
kind of what I'm driven about.
Oh, it's everything. What you just said is endgame. No pun intended. But like, it's funny because like Metaverse, coined by Neil Stephenson, Snow Crash. When people like originally were thinking of Metaverse, like, oh, is it like Ready Player One or Ready Player Two, or is it like Tron and these virtual worlds? And you know, it's like it's cool. I love obviously immersion, sensor, haptic feedback, all of that. That's great, you know. And people then talk about the future of brain-computer interfaces, and then what happens when we have quantum computing and you know quantum brain-computer interfaces. How far could it go, right? And how far immersive in terms of like living in this perpetual major virtual interactive world. But what you're saying is so prominent because you don't want to negate the real world, right? And like the energy fields around us as human beings and that feeling of connecting like with eye contact, and that is irreplaceable. And unfortunately, because of the pandemic, people had to, you know, expedite their technology processes and find other ways to connect, which has been brilliant because it's progressed the industry. But now, you know, as the world's like moving on, kind of like we have to still not forget about the physical world and take what we've learned the last year or so and about the beauty of virtual connections and then take that back to the real world.
Yes. And so what you're saying is so important because I don't deny that that is a space. And a lot of people who like didn't want their kids playing games and didn't see the value of that interconnection were very, you know, headstrong about that, you know, screen time and whatnot, because it does have a paradigm that really works well. And it has that connection and that socialization that I think is really important. But it doesn't mean that that's it, that's like you said, the end game. I love that you use that. I think that there's such a sweet balance, and it's not about screen time. It's about the sort of the engagement of those two forces and that energy, and just being really smart about it as creators and developers. You know, there's this sort of like underlying sadness that has happened around the physical contact being a part of keeping us safe, right?
Yeah.
So when we began to have to engage in that way, we didn't really understand what we were losing on the physical side of it.
Yeah.
And then putting masks on our face and losing expression and all that in social situations confused us as an energy, as humans.
Yes.
And gets a little awkward now as we're trying to get back into it.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to see a leveling of the sadness and the depression that's happened from the isolation when we all realize how important it is to get back together again and physically be in each other's presence and, you know, safely have masks so our expressions can be seen and so we can be part of each other's authentic lives, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, but technology has played such an important part of making sure that we keep those connections. So what's the sweet balance? And that's where I put it out to experts like yourself and people working through the Metaverse platform. Is there a way that it's all inclusive so that when we start defining it, we don't use the word in Metaverse as being digital or requiring a device in order for us to have a metaverse experience. And I'm working my way through that now, trying to understand, you know, where I sit at the table with it, because most of the time when I hear metaverse like descriptions or summaries of it, it only includes the physical world if you're wearing a gadget or you have AR or VR, or you're using a mobile device, or, you know, you're in a Niantic moment and you're kind of like using that platform. And I think those are all amazing, but I think they're just some of the tools of creating physical presence and digital metaverse in a world that's sort of multi, you know, transporting you, but keeping all of it on the table. I don't think you have to remove physical, a sense of physicalness in order to be in the metaverse. But I looked to my colleagues and experts like yourself to figure out how to sit at the table and still discuss that and keep that, even in my avatar outfit, I'm like, I'm willing to dress the part and still be an avatar,
Yes.
but let me be my physical self,
Yes.
because I think that offers a different play energy. And I think it's amazing to look to the side and watch people without things on their head or devices in front of them, and do this experience with you. And I get more from that moment sometimes than I do the awe and wonder of what's digitally happening in front of me. Is I just get such a kick out of the expressions and the reactions and the laughter and the physical essence of people in the space. So that's my bent on it.
Oh, no, that was amazing what you said. And by the way, I'm definitely not an expert. I am learning every day from people like you and people I meet. So we're all trying to work this thing out together. And I think, though, there is a commonality between us that we don't want to lose our sense of humanity. We don't want to, have a repeat of Web 2. The thing with Web 2 was it was big tech, it still is, but controlling our data and our experiences can be deplatformed. There's this vision of this open metaverse that people are hoping will be built and are actively trying to build. We'll see how it goes, but one has to positively manifest it, because we are at this time where the way we think and the way we act and the way we do will literally influence the future. And so the open metaverse, the idea and the idealism behind it is that you have your self-sovereign identity, which is connected to your real human self, and you can choose however you want to represent yourself. You want to be a flying dragon, whatever you want to be, a fairy, whatever, in the metaverse, and you're not locked in to a virtual world. Like, it is wherever you would like to go. And it's not just necessarily like teleporting, right, from one place to another. It's also about how do you create those organic experiences that you get in real life? Like, say you're in a music festival and you just happen to meet someone there. That's not planned. It's not like, oh, okay, on the map, I'm teleporting here and this is what I'm doing at said time and place. It's like the part of the beauty about humanity in real life is like those unexpected moments, the unpredictable moments. And I think people are trying to simulate that in like these virtual spaces, but it's not as easy to achieve, because what they're trying to achieve is something that's really innately meant for humans to experience in the physical world.
So totally into what you're saying. And part of what is really taking my breath away, and so the way that you put it is, you included the physical world at the table when you described it, and you were kind of leaning in on how important that is to acknowledge, like, we're sort of recreating, but what it really is about ownership of that and making decisions on that.
Yeah.
And what I think is really cool is physical worlds, let's say cinemas or old shopping centers that aren't being visited anymore. These physical spaces are aching to bring people back into their spaces.
Yes.
And isn't this a great sort of buy-in from both sides of the fence, the physical and the real physical real estate and the digital real estate, the physical people and the digital people, looking at the magic of technology and how you can traverse that experience. I'm gonna grab my magic wand for a second.
Actually, I want to talk about MagiQuest as well.
Okay,
let's do
stop.
it.
Yes, because when I do that, I'm going to match your hair today. So, when I do that, I'm holding a real physical device. It has all these abilities and attachments where you can put these different connections on.
Wow.
So I'm going to talk about the physicality of holding and playing with the toy or a magic wand, and giving in, but is infused with a lot of technology. So go ahead, and then I'll
yes,
see if the thoughts are the same as the question.
Well, yeah, 100%. I was going to ask you, because like you've worked on the MagiQuest. Obviously, it's like one of the most technology-driven attractions, one of the first, and it's been so successful. And I saw a talk you did, and you were talking about the arm pretzler, and it was really funny because it's like that one guy in the corner of the room with his arms crossed, and everyone else is right into it. And of course, Denise thinks, how do I get him to interact? And that's like, you create these family experiences where there's something for everyone.
Something for everyone.
Yeah, and,
that's right.
Yeah.
So, I love that you picked that up. That was in the TED Talk, right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
and then we talked about that later. But I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, and so what everyone was doing was like these physical experiences with these wands and the magic guidebook, and like walking through like these experiences. And I just have to say, because this relates to everything you've been doing with theme parks, which I also want to ask about. But for me, part of the reason why I just really got into entertainment and like not even know as playology or the word imagineering was all these experiences like people of you created for people like us, like at theme parks. And they are like the definitive, some of the definitive childhood teenage memories that I've had visiting Disneyland and Universal Studios with my friends, and all these experiences. I told you the other time about the Tron in the theme park, but it wasn't like I had like a headset on. It was the spatial sound of, and the actors, and just that being there in the moment. And sharing that moment with my friends. So I'd love to hear now about everything to do with the physical world and these interactive gameplay storytelling experiences from you.
So thank you. And yes, I know that those have, I too, when I was 10 years old, I went to Disney World when it first opened. The first year my parents took me there, and it changed me forever. The Haunted Mansion was the most magical thing I've ever seen. And so I remember the presence. I also remember standing in a line for 3 hours.
Oh, yeah.
And I still can't believe what I saw. I still, to this day, can't believe what I saw. And I continue to be marveled with the industry's ability to suspend disbelief and create these magic moments. But what really took me by surprise was when my kids are now 31, 32, and 23. And when my daughter, who is 31, was 3 years old, I was working with Hasbro at the toy company, and they were just getting into virtual gaming. They were just talking about like play school puzzles, CD program that you would put into your computer, and you would be able to play puzzle games with the Play School brand. And they wanted me to test it on my preschoolers.
Yeah.
So I brought it home, and my daughter, who was very playful and very physical, was really into puzzles. It was within about 5 minutes of playing it that I knew that she was with the screen just sucked her in. It was so good. It was so interactive and so incredible. Wow. I was so scared. So as a physical play person and people inventing toys and thinking about the physical world, I could see that energy was being done beautifully on this screen. So I wanted to figure out a way to disconnect the physical play from the digital play, but use the digital play as the springboard, which I called launching. So I sat behind the computer back in the day, and she was playing, and I unhooked the monitor from the computer base right in the middle of her playing the Play School puzzles. And I said, you need to go and put a real puzzle together. And so she did, and came back and said, at 3 years old, I did it. And then I plugged it back in. So I got to see what it was like to share a digital experience with a physical one. And that was one of the first patents that I developed. So I started creating these digital physical experiences in which the digital play would be duplicated in the physical world using digital game mechanics and how digital worlds interacted with you, but in a physical setting. But I wanted technology to drive it. So came up with infrared and RFID technology within the base of this magic wand. Yep. And so when you actually activate the wand, it throws a signal out into the physical world. Yep. and it interacts with you like a real video game. So you're the avatar physically,
Yep.
and the magic wand works. And it's funny, when I bring out the magic wand, just when I did this at South by Southwest, there are magi, people who played MagiQuest over the last 18 years. They're like, I did that when I was, 15 years ago. The same program is still running.
Wow.
And there was no tracking.
Yeah.
I mean, keep in mind, the invention was like, there wasn't even Google back then.
Oh my goodness.
It was trying to look at the invention process and how to actually support an interactive moment between a game system and you as a physical player. So this wand, I can go into any place that has the Great Wolf Resort or has the MagiQuest system in it.
Yeah.
And it knows me back from 18 years ago as literally player one, which is what's so important about this, is they're my target. So when I think of playing games, I know I have the kids with hello with a magic wand.
Yeah.
And I know I've got them playing because it's a video game come to life. But it's that grandma or that father or that person's like, I don't understand what's going on. I don't play video games. And they're sitting in the back. And what I really want to do is figure out, how do I engage you in a way that you feel comfortable? And so we created these little booklets called the Book of Wisdom.
Yes.
And they're basically the cheat books. And I would hand them to the parents or the grandparents. And it just became part of the whole system where they had the cheat books. So the kids would come back to them and ask for their advice, and they would look through the poems and the cheats, and they would be able to roam this physical environment and find these specific artifacts that when they waved the wand, the treasure chest would open or the dragon would come to life and give them their next clue, and they would quest and adventure and level up in the system and get all these points and become master magi and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And the arm pretzler, 50% of them, because we had data and we could actually tell who actually came back, would end up buying their own wands and playing themselves. So like my most cherished moment was an arm pretzler who ended up becoming a magic wand holder. And they were in MagiQuest, which is where the technology works. And, the receiving signals about 50 feet, but it knows who you are, and it puts you on quests, and you can wave your wand and make it all work. And then you walk outside, and the technology in those days did not work anymore. But he sat there in his 40-year-old body with his 7-year-old appeared, and he waved his wand at a light that was out in the center. And everyone looked at him and started cracking up. He didn't let go. He still thought he had magic powers and he was going to make the street light go on. And they laughed hysterically. And you could see like it just like awakened that child vision inside of him. And I know that was more successful for me than, the getting the technology to work and all the different things that I was able to suspend. The whole team in creating this was able to suspend his disbelief and to think that he could turn on a street light with his magic wand. Very Dumbledore, but totally perfect for that situation. But I think it's important because the invention came from me being a mom first. It was looking at my child behind a screen many, many years ago and saying, I don't have to limit the screen time. Maybe I can make something that would engage like screen time, but in a physical way. So don't prevent it, integrate it. And how can I speak to other moms and say, I've got your back? I'm thinking like a mom, I want your kids to get out and physically run around. I got this. And let's curate as women thinkers, as mothers of children, and look at invention from that perspective. And it was really not my playology, not just my inventive technology skills. It was me being a mom and what I wanted for my kids as future humans, right? That really made that come to life.
That's just beautiful, and I think people, like you said, he was like looking at the street light thinking, but he must have come out of that thinking like he was magical. That's magic.
It's amazing. It's amazing that happened because I knew when I saw that, I saw him as an arm pretzeler to start with,
Yeah.
and then get to the point that he's actually out of the experience. He's
Mhm.
out of the metaverse, right? And he still thinks he can do this. His
Yeah.
whole family was just, they were all cracking up. They couldn't believe that he was doing it. He looked like a little sheepish, but then he laughed. He knew that it was magic for him
Oh,
too, as much as it was for his family. So
yeah. Yeah, I can account for experiences like that with my friends and like, yeah, parents when I was young and seeing them get into it at a theme park, you know. And I think that's the thing, like, you can play a video game and do multiplayer, right, with like all ages, and but you're like watching a screen or you're like experiencing VR or whatever. But being at a theme park and actually like, you know, feeling, I don't know, all these experiences and having like a quest and like that sense of accomplishment as well in like the physical world makes you realize
yes.
it's not an avatar skin that's achieving these goals. You know, it's like it's me in my
Oh,
in
you
my
you put that perfectly. And I don't actually think that it's wrong for us to have those digital successes. And I think
Yeah.
that they're absolutely brilliant.
Agree.
What I'm trying to do is bridge it
Yeah.
so that that technology and the gamification side
Mhm.
is truly a big part of it.
Yeah.
We were talking about like the extension of this with a play world, like how to take cinemas and turn them into these physical metaverses.
Right.
And that is like, if you think about storytelling and gamification and how that screen can be more physically interactive and in the game mechanics within that immersion, that's, you know, like, that's where I think that bridge can be made. A lot of tech thinking, but I mean, the magic of coming up with that one, you know, like
Yeah.
the fact that you carried the wand with you or the joystick, you know, like this became the mobile device. It was enough for us to know who you were uniquely. It's
Yeah.
kind of like a physical NFT because it has its own unique idea in it.
Exactly.
And you would dress it up like this wand has, like, I dressed it up afterwards, so it's not just the ones that came from the MagiQuest experience,
Yeah.
but that idea that you can take physical things and make them a part of your inventory that is tracked and you're tracked and known forever, which is, I think, iconic in combining physical and virtual metaverses together.
Yeah, because it's like if you have to, you know, leave that experience, you can come back and it's gonna remember. It's smart. It will remember where you left if you were like in the middle of a quest or something.
I now have the daughter that I worked with back when she was 3 and is now 31, has my 6-year-old grandson. And last year we went to MagiQuest. It was the first time he's seen all these magic wands around my office. I've got quite the office, by the way. I'll take you for a little spin near the end. But so he plays with everything, and he's always known that these were really magical, and they worked. So we went to a great resort, and we were playing MagiQuest, and he was just astonished to see all these people running around and playing the game. He's like, Gigi, like, your magic wand really works. So I went into the place, and they go, do they know who you are? And I'm like, watch, they'll know who I am. So I waved my wand, and the assistant came up. And the woman looked at me, she went, how can you be player 1? And she went, oh, are you Denise? And I looked at my grandson, who was like looking at like, oh my God, they do know who you are.
Yeah.
And it was an employee at MagiQuest, so they knew the history of it. But my grandson, it was like, how is it that you brought that from your office? We went to Pennsylvania and you waved the magic wand and they knew who you are.
Oh, yeah.
How could that be? I'm thinking to myself, well, damn, that really worked.
My tech
18 years later, wow, great. Yeah, they know who I am. Whew. Technology's still working.
It's amazing.
That was fun. I could see his magic still in him
Oh, I love
when
that.
he went too.
Yeah, and so when we talk about the metaverse, like and all these like new techs and I don't know patents coming through, like is there any alpha that you'd like to share on what you're working on now? I think you're working on a new venture as well, and where you plan on
Yep.
taking this.
So one of the things that I've been working on is called a smart technology or smart entertainment technology,
Mm-hmm.
which is an IP that allows us to track individuals in multiple different ways, including recognizing them by the like a backpack they're wearing, or a toy that they're holding, or like barcode like images on a vest, or
Mm-hmm.
obviously the other biometric ways of recognizing somebody. And the projection system, let's say, like, you could see projection systems that are being used in different immersive experiences, Meow Art Tech House, large, big projection experiences.
Yep.
They are very immersive, but part of what is happening is the interactivity between that large screen and the game mechanics are not within that environment.
Yeah.
So the smart technology, and I've been working with and was lucky enough to get a mega grant from Unreal Engine and Epic
Amazing.
to bring the mechanic back into the gaming system.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of it just being like virtual production in these large screens, it's recognizing the players as they move around in the space,
Mm-hmm.
and then having that interactivity like MagiQuest, but much more in this dynamic real-time rendered opportunity.
Yes.
And that is being thought through in real estate that is struggling right now. So like cinemas and IMAX theaters, places where large screens and storytelling are done, if you can remove the seats and in place put in like a playground system that has these, not just the big screen, but other screens throughout. And there's, I can connect you to the presentation that was made that has the video with this.
Yep.
And create bays of different gaming and storytelling experiences within cinematic worlds. So, that business model is brilliant, but it's changed. And we do enjoy having stories brought to us at home.
Yeah.
And how can we get people back into those physical spaces? Does it always have to be blockbusters? But could it be these engaging metaverse type physical experiences where we're using these screens and we're using real people playing, and we're creating kind of Alice in Wonderland rabbit holes throughout the whole space, so that you can be on a playground in a digital environment using an engine like Unreal that connects you to a game mechanic, and create a new reason to come, as in any age group, or for, think of it from normal gaming ratings to general sort of fun gaming as well. Or storytelling, or just jumping into a story and having that interaction with it. So I'm just looking at spaces that are in need of bringing people back, and the business model that they had is struggling. And so how can we use the metaverse to embrace this new, energy, but do it in a way that still keeps the screen and that beauty of the screen enlarged and massive, and the physical person being the avatar in the space, instead of it being your digital you. I mean, I know that people said that they preferred to do this than the digital side of playing a MagiQuest type game. And I think that if given the choice, people would choose to do that and would love to have that experience. So working on that now with different cinemas and IMAX theaters, especially in learning institutions where, day parts could be used. Once you have a system like that in place, imagine the kind of experiences that you can have with that, like in real-time rendered way, look at what happens when you make a difference as a future human, and watch the forest grow after you plant a seed, those kinds of things that could be done in these incredible interactive, not
Yeah.
just immersive worlds.
Exactly.
I hope that explains it, because it's better with the visuals. The visuals, actually, people go, oh, I get it when they
Yeah.
see it. But
I'll link the
playground,
visuals. Yeah.
cinema, interactivity, immersion, lots of audio and
Yeah.
incredible effects, all mixed into a cinema.
Yeah. Unreal Engine, spatial audio, physical Meatverse avatars, interactive
Yeah, you got
gameplay.
it.
Yeah.
You did great. That's right.
No, I can totally see it happening. And you know what I'd love to see as well, Denise, is like I don't know, like kind of like incubating from Metaverse native. What I'd love to see is like things that have kind of like built in the Metaverse, like these native stories or digital worlds, and they have their own gameplay and social experiences, and then taking that to the physical world to not only reenact but bring a whole new dimension that you can't achieve from just the digital, you know what I mean? Like, or just augmented reality, like actually like a theme park or interactive entertainment.
Yeah, that's right. And
Yeah.
theme parks and creating themed dimensional worlds is very tough, and it's very expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, millions and millions of dollars to do these replica universes.
Yeah.
And I get that. I know that there's a place for that, but I think that using large projection screens and digital technology to create that immersive environment and really great audio and some effects, I think that we could not have to go for so much hardscape and still get people to destinations, especially hometown destinations like a cinema or a shopping center, like, black box space like that, and bring people together to play. They could play in their digital metaverse, but there's a different game and a different social experience they can have in the physical. And those two worlds connect. So in the smart technology, the ability to carry your achievements in the gaming or the story worlds that you participated in the physical sense would be brought back into it. So if you bought, this magic wand, it would show up in your inventory as well. Or if you decked yourself out and got yourself all avatared out, it would show up, and vice versa. How could we create that bridge between those two things as well?
It's like one's like the access key, like an NFT access key to both the digital and the physical.
Now that is a really good idea. There you go. That was unique and inventive, the way that you just said that.
Not really.
Almost like I'm a big collector of keys. I have them all over. I have thousands and thousands of keys. I really love the idea that an NFT, because a key is unique, right?
Exactly.
It has, I'm trying to find one of my keys that I have sitting on the table.
You've been doing NFTs
like
for a while.
A clock key, right?
Yeah.
They have everything has its own little unique pattern in it.
Exactly.
It is an NFT, isn't it? It
Yeah.
fits a specific lock and it unlocks that lock.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be amazing to have physical NFTs that literally unlock worlds in these physical environments? Like have to put the key in the lock to unlock it, and you can't find it.
Yeah.
You can't do it unless you actually physically do it. And go there and do it.
Exactly. Yeah, and I mean, you've
Good.
already been thinking
Very good.
like
I love that.
NFTs yourself before all of this. I'm just all you have to do is connect it to the blockchain, and it's like it's already an NFT.
That's right. That's right. And I'm so curious about that. And I also think that we do have, in Web 2, we do have ways to sort of actualize that a little bit sooner too. And how do we lean into some physical attributes like a key and a lock to kind of unlock the blockchain, right? And give us a sense of like investigating and evaluating and getting people to play and see how it works. I wonder about that, but that is such a good idea. I got to circle back with you on that later.
You're already doing amazing things. Denise, you want to take us on a quick little tour of your magic?
Yeah. So, this is just like, I just love to spin you around a little bit. I'm in love with dimensionality and collecting of repurposing parts into things that they are unexpected to become. And so normally when people sort of look at my office and they see what I'm up to and they want me to do a little spin around, this is just one part of my house. It's obviously it's night here right now, so it's not lighting up too much, but I think you can kind of see.
Yeah,
But
wow.
one of my favorite things is my pipe organ and my pump organ explosion that I have on my wall.
So cool.
And part of what I've done in my career is that I love to take things that were once something else and turn them into something new.
Wow.
So I just imagine, I love pipe music, this kind of organ and the set of all that, and it becoming something else as it flies away and becomes, this sort of unique art on my wall. But all of this, including some of my little robots that I have hanging around, are all made out of things that were discarded. Wow. And repurposed into something else. Obviously, I got like a kind of steampunk flair to my worlds.
So cool.
But I also create and I work with artists around the world that create these little bots for me out of repurposed parts. This little bot was created by an Afghan vet who used to, when he was there, he would collect plastic pieces and remake them into toys for the kids that were there. And then that became his sort of like known art. And I have a lot of his pieces here, but they're all made out of like plastic bottles and recycled bits and parts.
Yeah.
And I just think that's amazing. And the little stories that they can tell, like, where did that part come from? Obviously this is its own like little NFT. It's my little nifty bot. I think that there's so much that can be done with the physical and the digital, even in the art space. And so that's a quick tour of that.
Wow.
It goes on and on.
No, wow.
It's a little outrageous, but I have that as well.
You know what? It's so great that to see so much character and it's like so much imagination, like to hear the backstories behind how each piece was made. And you were telling me the other day about Weta Digital, and you've been working, I don't know if you've been working with them, but like, do you want to tell everyone a bit about that?
So it's Weta Workshop, and Weta Workshop is in New Zealand, and they are the obviously, if you're a Lord of the Rings fan and want to get into that world and understand, they've done an amazing job of they really are one of the first like metaverse creators. The way that they move technology to bring us to Middle Earth and to experience that, but they're incredible craftsmen and women and have done amazing jobs of creating these worlds. And I began working with them in New Zealand about 6-7 years ago and fell in love with New Zealand and started working with them and with other colleagues on making social and global impact. And Edmund Hilary Fellowship inviting me in about 5 years ago to make that impact to and through New Zealand. And I have incredible colleagues that we're working on blockchain way before this is like 6-7 years ago, because New Zealand was curious and moving through that. And now I'm a resident of New Zealand and working on bringing really unique, socially impactful experiences that also take a look at our global and environmental responsibility in what we're doing. Lots of really cool people within the EHF ecosystem that are working towards making more cohesive collective experiences for people that make the world a better place. So I'm a fan of that. I'm also a fan of working with my colleagues at Weta. Incredible imagination, amazing digital and physical capabilities that they have. They also just recently built an amazing place called Unleashed. It's in Auckland. Now that the borders are opening back up. I'm a real fan of physical entertainment, and this is one of the best I've ever seen. It's, kind of combining their movie making skills with storytelling and creativity. And very, very impressed and proud of the achievements they made. They won awards this year for this amazing place, and really cool people, really amazing people there.
Well, you're a really cool and amazing person, Denise, so thank you so much for joining me today on the Holoship.
Thank you.